Good morning and welcome to the Knit Shift episode 34. My name is Laura and today is it's Friday, November 27th, 2015. Welcome. If you're new here, this is a knitting podcast. I'm a journalist in Virginia and I work evenings, hence the Knit Shift. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I can be found on the web at thenitshift.com. I'm on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. I'm on Ravelry as Yarnstormer. And we have a group for the podcast over there. Just do a search for the Knit Shift and you'll find us. So come on over. So welcome. Happy Thanksgiving week to my American friends and happy week of November to those who aren't. I hope you've had a wonderful holiday if you're in the States and had a lot of good food. I know I did, and I will continue to have good food thanks to leftovers. It was a really great week. I cooked my first Thanksgiving meal from start to finish. I've always contributed dishes or desserts if I was going somewhere, but this is the first year I cooked for my boyfriend and me. So only for two people. It was a good... If you're going to start cooking a Thanksgiving meal, cooking it for two people is probably a good way to start. And it went really well, and I'll talk about that later. So this week, let me pull up my notes here on my phone. This week I have a few things to share with you. I have two finished objects. I've got a new work in progress. I have some stash enhancements and a knit along I wanted to tell you guys about that I kind of started unofficially on Instagram and forgot to talk about last week. So let's get to it. My first finished knit took all of, 10 days, something like that. And it's a pair of fingerless mitts, which I will put on right now. There's one. This is the Easy Fingerless Mitts by Stacey Perry, aka Very Pink. And I knit this out of Malabrigo sock held double. So it was more like a worsted weight yarn, and it's the colorway Solis, and it took probably about half a skein of this yarn. So these are a gift for someone I'm seeing in Texas in a couple weeks, and I think she'll like them. The color is it's a really lovely green. It's a dark green, but there's blips of yellow as you can see here, so it's really, really nice. I really like it. This is a very simple pattern. It's a free pattern. I modified it. I made them longer. The pattern called to make them no higher than this, and they ended right at the wrist. But I really wanted them to kind of go up the forearm, so I just knit longer ribbing, and I knit a longer stockinette before I started the thumb holes. So easy peasy, super simple, highly recommended if you need a fast pair of mitts. In fact, I'm thinking about making a pair for myself because my office has been so cold lately that I kind of need them. So that is the first finished knit. And I knit these on US size 7. I don't think I said that, but I knit these on a US 7 with my knit picks interchangeable, the silver colored ones. I don't recall exactly what they're called. And my second finished knit is a pair of socks. I hadn't shown you these for a few weeks. I kept setting them aside because I felt like I hadn't made progress. And then all of a sudden I was done with them. So here they are. This is a pair of Spun Right Round. Let me pull up the details here. This is Spun Right Round. I forget the name of the base, but it's a Corriedale base. And it's the colorway Return to Prism. And I knit these on a US 1.5. And you can see this yarn worked out really, really great. Very little pooling, very little, even in the heel flap, or in the heel, not a heel flap, but the toe and the heel, there was basically no pooling. So this is a great yarn. Corriedale's a little bit scratchy, not uncomfortably so, but it's the kind of yarn, kind of like Regia and Opal, the German sock yarns that have that merino nylon mix that feels very sturdy and hardy. That's what this feels like, basically. It just feels like these socks are gonna wear really nicely over time. So that's my hope, at least. But I knit these pretty tall. You can see they're up around the edges of my sock blockers here. So anytime the socks kind of start to go up the curve of the sock blocker. That's a pretty tall sock for me. So I'm really pleased with these. I knit this is my 9th pair of the year, I believe. And in my head, I was hoping to get to 12, so we'll see if I can pull that off. So I cast on probably 32 with Judy's Magic Cast on the toe, and then I increased every round until I hit 48 stitches, and then I increased every 3rd round until I hit 64. So I went up the leg, I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and it doesn't fit me as well as a heel flap and gusset, but gosh, it just makes the prettiest heel, and there's no gapping right here where the start of the gusset would be. Okay, there's a tiny, tiny little hole there. See that there by that white stitch, but it's pretty minimal. I could fix that up if I wanted to. So I'm really pleased with these. These are for me. They're not a gift. So yeah, I really love these. This is just such a great rainbow clown colored yarn. Oh, and to finish my description, I went up the leg and I knit 2x2 ribbing, and there you have it, another pair of socks. And that brings me to my works in progress. First up, I will show you a sock you saw, or socks you saw before. This is my pair of Christmas socks that I'm knitting for myself. And I decided I would like to have a little hashtag to follow along with on Instagram. And just so if you're making Christmas socks, use the hashtag, and I'll start a thread in the Ravelry group, and it'll be kind of an unofficial, no pressure knit along. And I think at the end of the year I'll draw, a number. Oh, Gracie, I have my computer on the floor here, and Gracie just walked across it, but I think it's still recording. Give me 1 second. Yes, it still is. Okay, so these are my Christmas socks. This is Gershubi Fiber Arts in her Solfege sock yarn, and the colorway is called Sophie's Garden, and it's kind of a muted red and green with hints of brown. So I'm knitting this from from a single cake, and I'm just, flipping the cake around as I knit for each sock. So these socks started with one end of the ball and the other end of the ball. And I've noticed that you can kind of see that this sock has a little bit more brown than this sock, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. They'll look more alike when I get to the tops of the legs, which, that's what everyone sees. So I've had this happen before with some yarns whenever I knit 2 at a time, unfortunately. It's like, I don't know why, but when the yarn is dyed, one end is a little bit different from the other end, and it's like I'm working toward them in the middle, but I don't care that much, not a big deal. So this is a merino nylon blend. It's I don't know the yardage, but I picked this up at SAF. The dyer, I want to say her name is Heather, but that might be wrong. She travels and dyes in an RV. She's kind of a nomadic yarn dyer, and I believe she has a podcast, but I don't remember the name of it. But it's a really nice yarn, and it's not what you would call a traditional Christmas. I mean, the colors are traditional, but it wasn't like she designed this for the holiday. So I'm really pleased with these. And I'm knitting these on, again, a US 1.5, which has become my go-to size, though I'm thinking I'm going to need to start going down to a US 1 pretty soon. And I'm using my Chigu, I don't know that they're the Chigu lace, but they're a Chigu sock yarn. Really nice pointy tips. I really got some lipstick on my hand. Keeping it real. Really nice, sharp, pointy tips. So there you have it. So I have a hashtag that I started using on photos of this pair of socks, and that is hashtag TKS for the knit shift, sock KAL. So hashtag TKS sock cal, like knit along. So it's kind of a mouthful, but once you use it once, it pops up all the time. So, and if I don't follow you on Instagram, send me a message. If you keep a private account like I do, if you use the hashtag and your account is private, no one can see it publicly. So shoot me a message and I'll send you a follow request, and I will then I'll get to see your socks. And I'm gonna have a chatter thread in Ravelry. It won't be as formal as here's where you post your finished socks, here's where you post chatter. None of that this time. We'll keep it simple. So I'd love to see your Christmas socks. And my other work in progress is a new one. I think I mentioned in last week's episode that I wasn't planning on, I've been mentioning that I wasn't planning on knitting Christmas gifts for anyone. And then and I should say, if you're my dad and you're watching my podcast, stop watching. You have 3 seconds, Dad. Okay, I'm going to tell you, these are socks for my dad. He loves my socks, and who am I to deny him a pair of my socks? Well, it's not deny, you know what I mean. If he would like a pair of socks, who am I to not knit them for him? I had been talking with my family, and my mom had said, oh, we have so many knit socks, and I kind of just decided not to knit them, and my dad was like, but I love your knit socks. They're just so wonderful. So I'm a sucker. If you tell me you love my socks, and especially if you're related to me, I'm going to knit you some more. So without further ado, Dad, you can look away because I'm about to show the sock now. I don't think my dad watches this. I know my mom does, but I don't think he does. So here is a sock for my dad. This is 2 different colors of opal. I used the plain gray opal for the toe, and then I am using a different opal for the foot. And I haven't yet figured out exactly how this yarn is trying to stripe up, because it started with the gray and a skinny blue, and then it was a fat blue, skinny blue, fat blue, skinny blue, fat blue. I don't know. I haven't yet figured out where this repeat is. Because it doesn't make sense yet. So we'll see. But this is from, I know I shared this in my stash enhancement a few weeks ago, but it's an opal sock yarn, and I remember I bought it on littleknits.com because it was called Marty and Doc, and I was like, this is great, it's like Back to the Future. And then it comes in the mail, and Marty and Doc is not on the label. It's called, I think it's called Blutsbrüder, like Blood Brothers. I bought 2 colorways though, so that could be the other colorway name. I should have looked this up. I'm not the best at my details today, you guys. So anyway, I'm really enjoying how this is knitting up, and I think my dad will too. It's nice, a solid opal yarn. I'm using US 1.5, I believe. Let's double check. Chigu, as always, they're kind of my go-to. Yep, US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeter. And I really like these. I'm about to start the gusset. I tend to do gussets for my dad's socks because I think they fit him well. So I'm going to do that, and then I have the gray here for the heel flap and probably the cuff. So there you have it. And I'm carrying this sock in a bag I bought at SAF. This is an Erin Lane bag, a really fun little chevron cinch bag. In fact, I still have the plastic tag attached from when I bought it. So I started these Monday or Sunday, and I'm already at the gusset. So I'm going to be seeing my dad in mid-December, about a week before Christmas, and that's when I'll see them for the holidays. So I'm fairly to very confident that I will get these done in time. So what else do I have to tell you about? I guess that takes us to stash enhancement. I mentioned last week that Knit Picks was selling speckled yarn, and I placed an order, and then I went back and I placed a second order because I just wanted to try 2 colors of speckled yarn for science. So the second order has not arrived yet, but the first order has, and the first order was a bigger order because I thought, well, while I'm ordering speckled yarn, they have Felici back, the self-striping sock yarn, and I probably need to buy some. So, and then I was like, and, you know, they're having a sale on palette, and I've been thinking about a colorwork hat for ages, so I'm just going to buy some of that too. That is my logic. I'm sticking to it. So let me pull this box up here. Okie dokie. So, like I said, I bought some Felici. They keep saying that this yarn is going away for good and then they bring it back. I'm getting sick of these ploys, Knit Picks. Either keep the yarn in stock or don't. I don't know what your deal is. So, I bought 2 skeins of Felici in the colorway, I think this is Baker Street? Oh, yes, it is Baker Street. So they're calling this Felici Special Reserve. You can see it on the label there. And it's Baker Street. And it is grays and blues and whites, kind of a cream color. Really nice stuff. So there, now it's in focus. So I have 2 balls of that to make a pair of socks. And I was really taken with this colorway called Madrigal, so I bought that too. And it's kind of a lovely rainbow of oranges and pinks and greens and blues and navy blues. And it's 75/25 superwash merino nylon, 218 yards. So it's really, really soft. And I will say this is pretty thin sock yarn. I'm going to definitely go down to a 1 or maybe a 0 when I knit socks because, pardon me, I've knit a pair of socks from Felici before. I used a 2 and they're super baggy on me, so I'm going to have to go down a size to make a better fabric. So those were my 2 balls of Felici, and here is the speckled yarn. This is Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering in the Confetti Speckle colorway, and this is pretty awesome, you guys. I'm glad I bought it. It was, I think, $11, $12, which is really reasonable for like a 440, oh no, it's 357 yard of 80/20 superwash fine Highland wool and 20% polyamide. So this will make a decent pair of socks or a shawlette or an edging of a shawlette, I don't know, but it's a whitish base, and there's some red speckles there, and some white and blues, and some orangey bits. And I kind of I'm really enjoying this blast of pink here. So I'm really pleased with this, and I can't wait to knit it up, and it's very squishy. So one last look, and back into the box it goes. And finally, I ordered some yarn for a colorwork hat, and let me show you the hat first. This is the Northport hat, which I've spoken about before here. So it's like a fun snowflake pattern interspersed with some easy rows. And I have not made a proper colorwork hat. I've made a baby hat with whales that were spouting water out of their blowhole. But that was very simple, not much to it, and I'm dying to make a colorwork hat. Especially a slightly slouchy one like this, because my hair is short and really tight hats are not my jam right now. I think I need hats to be a little slouchier to accommodate the curls. So here's what I bought. I bought green, so if you remember what the hat looked like that I just showed you, I believe that this green would be the cuff. I bought 2 balls of it just in case I needed them. And this is Knit Picks. This is all Knit Picks palette, which is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and it is not superwash. So it is the colorway Clover, which is a nice olive green. And I bought 2 balls of cream. This would probably be for the snowflakes. And I've never used palette before, so I'm excited to see what it's like working with. And then for various accents, I bought these 3 colorways. I bought cornmeal, which is a lovely, like it says, cornmeal yellow. I bought sweet potato, if only for the name alone. And I bought pimento. So when you put all these together, let me do it this way. How can I hold these the best to show you all of them? Sorry. Let's see if I can hold these all up. So when you hold these all up, I think they'll make a really nice hat. And as I look at the palette, I recognize that it is pretty fallish. But I just bought a camel colored coat from Old Navy, like a pea coat, and I feel like I have so many bright blues and purples in my knitting wardrobe that I think it'll be good to mix it up. So we'll see. I'd love to start this before Christmas and finish it in time to wear it this winter. That's my goal. I don't know when I'll start it, but maybe after I finish the gift socks and Christmas socks for my dad, that'll be the next thing I cast on. So we'll see. I do have a trip to Texas coming up with about 8 hours of knitting on the flight there and back, plus whatever time I have there. So I'm very confident I can get both of these socks done before my deadline, my self-imposed deadlines. Let me pull up my notes here and see what else I wanted to talk to you about. Let's see. Oh, so Thanksgiving. This is the final segment, the odds and ends. So last week I mentioned, well, first I'll tell you this was a really great week. I got to have a knitting date with a local knitter, and we hung out at a coffee shop and chatted, and I made a lot of progress on my sock, and she was knitting a really cute baby sweater, and that was really fun. Last weekend I just got to accomplish a lot of sitting around and relaxing, which was wonderful. And I was off for Thanksgiving Day. I worked Wednesday, and I do work today and Saturday, which are my normal days to work. But just having the holiday off was wonderful because I am not in a line of work where people get the holiday off very much. So it was wonderful that it actually happened. So on to Thanksgiving. So last week I had mentioned that I was going to make a mac and cheese for the first time. And I decided to do a test batch because I had enough ingredients, and I just thought I'll take it into work. You know, journalists love free food. There is no fact truer than that in this life. Journalists love free food. It doesn't even have to be good food. We love free food. But I pride myself on making tasty food. So I got out my food processor and I put in the ingredients to make the sauce. This mac and cheese recipe was notable because it did not involve pre-boiling the shells, which was curious. It cooks in this really liquid sauce as you bake it. Gracie's standing here looking at me. I wish I could show you her right now, but she's standing here because she's ready for a GREENIE. So I put all the ingredients in the food processor, the cottage cheese, and by the way, I hand grated like a pound of cheese, a pound of cheddar cheese. Do you know how much that is to grate? My arm was killing me by the end of it. So I was already kind of tired and thinking, oh God, I'm going to have to do all this again when I make this for the holiday. So, I put all the stuff in the food processor. Oh, are you coming up? Okay, hi. Sure. Taking her usual spot beside me. So I turn on the food processor and I realize the darn thing didn't have the blade in it. And it was leaking from the bottom. Leaking milk and cottage cheese and spices all over my food processor and my counter. And I was so frustrated and tried to figure it out, and I threw it out. I threw out the sauce and I froze my grated cheese and decided I was not going to make mac and cheese for Thanksgiving. So I went to my fallback plan and I made my mom's cheesy potatoes, which for some reason my family calls Florence's potatoes. I guess a lady named Florence gave them to my mom, but now because my mom makes them so much, everyone in my family calls them Dorothy's potatoes, but I still call them Florence's. So if my mom's cool with it, I will share the recipe on on thenitshift.com in the show notes. But they're delicious. They involve frozen hash browns and cheese and sour cream. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw them on my Thanksgiving plate. So I made a turkey breast. I had a 3-pound turkey breast. I made stuffing. I made the potatoes. I made them in the crock pot. You can make them in the oven, but I used a crock pot to save oven room. And I roasted broccoli, which is Josh's favorite vegetable. And I also made green bean casserole, the classic. Pardon me. So everything came out on time. Well, let me back it up. To make sure everything was hot when it needed to be, I made a little schedule, which I have right here, with everything I needed to do going backwards from the time we wanted to eat. And it says right here, eat at 2:15. We were not too far off of that, actually. But I decided to put the turkey in earlier because I thought I could always reheat the turkey if I needed to. I just wanted to make sure the turkey had enough time and the sides had enough time. So I'm glad I did, because the turkey needed more time than I thought. And as I got done, I highlighted them, and then I clearly stopped highlighting them partway through the day. And I posted a photo of this on Instagram because I left off the drinking of mimosas, so I wrote it in there. And my brother left a comment on the photo that said, "This is the most Laura thing that ever existed." And he's right, because I love making a list and I love having a plan. But you know what? My dinner was hot. It was delicious. And that's what matters. And the schedule works. There you have it. Oh, and for dessert, I made a chocolate dream pie and I made apple dumplings. So we ate around 2. We took a walk in the morning and a walk after dinner. We had first dessert at 4, which was the chocolate dream pie. And then around 8, I made apple dumplings for second dessert. Special days call for 2 rounds of dessert. And there you have it. That was my Thanksgiving. It was wonderful. I'm feeling relaxed, ready to go back to work. But as for now, I'm going to spend the rest of the day knitting, and I'm going to eat some leftovers very soon. And yeah, it'll be great. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. I will mention I plan to record next week, but not the week after that. And potentially not the week after that either, because I've got a couple trips coming up. So stay tuned. There should be an episode next week, but after that it'll be a little in flux. So stay tuned for that. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.